My foreign Joey.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for coming out on this very crisp fall morning with the frost on the ground and the chill in the air. So we hopefully will take off a little bit of the chill in the air with this great program that we're going to talk a little bit about. That today, I think we're going to commemorate, and it's more than just I think this park, but it's also has a lot to do with what our town, particularly our town board, and I'll introduce a couple of our members that are here in a few minutes. But when I, in the current, my cold has gotten worse. When I, in the current town board, came to office, I think that what we found is that there really wasn't any vision for our parks, and just as and really what it was like was very similar to my grandmother's worn out frazzled patchwork quilt that had been passed down through a number of generations. And but we now have, I think, a very new and clear vision and purpose with respect to the parks, and we're beginning to take shape with one map that's on the left side that identifies on the left side, we finally put together where our various parks are. We're looking at how we interconnect the trails. And this is something that the vision no longer involves just a traditional recreation approach. We've had a recreation department, but what I and the board members, and we have Mike Cusmith here, Chris Phillips, and Bill Beal from our board here today. And I think what we're looking at is really more than just recreation. It's community affairs, community advocacy as to the program that we're doing, including and especially this particular park. And that has to do with the quality of our life, of our residents, and particularly of our neighborhoods. And today, I'm very thankful to see a number of our local neighbors here who have been and are going to be even more active in the planning and actually, I hope, the rollout of this particular park. We've also embarked down this path in partnership with Dutchess County under the leadership of Mark Molinaro, who's blessed us with his presence today. But I mean that very sincerely. Actually, Mark and I were out here shortly after the grant award was announced and walking through the ground. But more importantly, as we look at our parks, but also the parks of the county, we are, as this side flag says, thinking differently about how we approach the quality of life in our community and our residents. Today we are standing at one of the sites that we've earmarked. We have, as you're probably aware, about 13 different parks, not including our trails. Some are our neighborhood parks, like Quiet Acres, over in the Wildwood area. We have Fleetwood, which is a small one, which we recently renovated thanks to a really fine Boy Scout project. And we have others that have been used for different purposes. One of the challenges that we've had, and I think the board in particular, we have looked at, is really how do we take these parks and really propel them into what is Wappinger, what is the town of Wappinger. As you know, we have a long history. It's dealing with our hamlets, our village, agricultural and industrial development, and we take great pride in our former native group. And the first settlement actually in Dutchess County was an illegal one, but was actually in what is now the town of Wappinger before it was moved out, and then we had the roundabout patent that took place. What's happened with our parks is that they evolved as really donations by the developers, which we appreciate, but a lot of it really donated in wetlands and floodlands, including here. A lot of this park has that problem, and as we've encountered a growing problem with the rains. We've been blessed and cursed because of the water situation. But unfortunately, most of the parks have that issue, so I think they've gone unintended over the years. But with the county's grant, and we'll talk about that in just a couple minutes, we've been able to kick off, I think, an aggressive campaign that this is what we believe, and certainly will be the first of a number. We do have other grants in, not just the community development grants, but a variety of ones that the county has been very supportive, us and neighboring communities. So it's not just about Wappinger, it's about East Fishkill, it's about the village. How do we work together? So in this case, Spook Hill Park, you have over there, Joey can point to it. This is one of the designs maybe that we've had, and it's a work in progress. We still have not completed with the total design because it's going to be done in phases. But particularly this is designed, and we have Tony here from the county, and as a destination spot, where we are looking at this park to be not just a neighborhood park, because we'll have a lot of facilities that can be used by our neighbors here, but also for our people with special needs, not just in Wappinger, but throughout the county and the region. And this has been ranging from our veterans to disabled folks, regardless of whether or not it's from a military duty or some other purpose, autistic spectrum disorder, and variety. In fact, when we look at the phase out of this park, it's designed to start focusing on a number of those areas. So initially, the grant that we got will be involved in actually redoing the infrastructure, including that building over there that to my right, that will be addressing basically ADA requirements, making it a full usable facility for all that have special needs, as well as people without special needs. In the multi-purpose phase, we plan on bringing this parking space in. In the original design, it was to go over and really what is more or less wetlands. In response to our residents' concerns, we're going to pull this in and then push the main track and area back. Joey, if you'd point out where the parking right now is designed up in the front, and there'll be a one-way in and out for that, and we can also expand some of the space. The second aspect of it is the infield, and basically we'll have a 1/10 of an acre track that is all weather, all use, that can be used to jog, to run by anybody, including people on wheelchairs. Now, this particular court right here, basketball court, we intend to really fix it up so that it will be for regular use, but also for disabled, particularly wheelchair competition. So we are looking at exercise machines in the infield. Eventually there'll be a 1/4 mile walking track around the perimeter with special material so that it can take care of the wetlands issue. But we also intend it to be what I call a sensory walking path. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of the special needs peoples, young and old alike, like to have this touch and feel the sensory nature of the park. So things that are dangling, colorful, other sorts of moving types of attractions, that can be used to make this a living park. And that, I think, is the most important aspect of this, to look at it as a living, very viable park. So that's kind of our vision, which we're doing. And I think have more plans for the various parks, let alone this particular one. Community involvement is very important. As I told the committee from the beginning, we needed to have our neighbors in all the parks actively involved. In this particular case, in this particular ward, it's Ward 3. So any real complaints, not only do you bring them to me, don't worry about Marcus, we'll take care of him. We'll keep them all. But Chris Phillips, who is the councilman for Ward 3, he's the one you can go knock on his door. You can come to my office. So before him, Bob Johnson, before Bob decided to retire and move down to Tennessee, was also actively involved. So, this morning, we have a number of folks here. You have your program. I hope everybody got the program, which was very well put together. I've already, I think, introduced the gentleman up here, but I'll do it again. Mike Cusmith, who is our councilman for Ward 4. Of course, County Executive Marcus Molinaro, who represents Ward 1, 2, 3, 4, the whole town, the whole county, and you know what we say earlier, 6 children or so. You know, I won't mention a couple of the names of the children, but anyway, Chris Phillips, you know, Ward 3, and also Bill Beal, you know, Ward 1. And so, you know, I really thank them for coming today. You know, also, I'd be remiss if I don't say that this is about community involvement. So it's not just a town-dictated thing. You know, we have been, and I'll have Randy and Kevin, who are co-chairs of the committee, close up by talking about it, but we've had some tremendous support already. And in fact, you know, we've already gotten, before we really kicked off the ground, you know, after the $100,000, you know, grant, you know, we've had Hannaford, and let's see, where are the representatives for, right here, stand up. You know, $2,000 to date, you know, for the park. But I want you to know that they've been extremely, extremely involved in supporting our community. We're not the only one that their generosity has benefited, but certainly the town, through other organizations such as baseball, soccer, have benefited from their generosity. Also, you know, we have, you know, another $1,000 check. This is from Randy, the Kiwanis Club of Poughkeepsie. And so they've, you know, been quite involved in that. And so we expect, you know, some of our banks, our financial institutions are even represented here today. Also, I want to point out that if I don't miss anything, Jessica Fulton's here. Jessica's our recreation director. I've been nudging her into the direction of the community affairs and advocacy approach, but we're on the same page with that. Joey Cavaccini, our town historian, who's put together, you know, a lot of the information. Kevin Hawthorne, as I said, and Randy Ross are co-chair of the committees, and Kevin's been serving as the deputy supervisor at this point in time. And so I want to thank them for their support and actually generosity. And I'll have Randy and Kevin at the end talk a little bit more about the Friends of Spook Hill, about what we're doing. But now, you know, without any further ado, and the most important part of the program is to hear a few words from our county executive, Marcus Molinaro. Mark.
Have to watch.
Yeah, I just took off the glove.
Oh, fair enough. We're all safe. The supervisor is very much aware that I have 4 children and he doesn't want them to get sick, so I appreciate that. I am not the most important part of your program. You know, sort of the ceremonial breaking ground is. I just want to thank Supervisor Thurston not only for his leadership and the partnership we've developed over these last few years, but the way in which he framed really your commitment and the county's view of park investment, right? You know, a lot of communities, and you mentioned this, end up with neighborhood parks that were the donation of a developer or perhaps a wealthy family that may have given them up some years ago. And in many cases, municipalities don't really have a vision for them. But what you've been able to do over the course of the last, several years, but certainly intensified over these last few months, is develop a vision. And each of these pocket parks, these neighborhood parks, need to reflect not only the needs of the community, but really the desire and hope of the neighborhood. And we're blessed in Dutchess County, hundreds upon hundreds of neighborhood parks that municipalities are trying to make connect with their community. Well, Dutchess, as part of our vision for redeveloping county parks, not only are we trying to ensure that we weave together the local parks and match them up with sort of the broader goals of county parks like Bowdoin, of course, closest to Wappinger and partially in Wappinger, but we also recognize that there's a whole segment of our population that don't always have access to these facilities. Now, that may include individuals who are aging at home who have lack of mobility or certain particular needs, or those living with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So as part of the county's Think Differently initiative, we have been working with municipalities not only to develop accessible parks, and the principles for universally accessible parks, but actually put some money on the ground and ultimately shovels in the dirt to transform them. And this town has really taken it up. The Challenger Field, of course, this investment here, remarkable. And so the county's Community Development Block Grant Program, administered by Ann Saylor, who's here, our goal with these dollars is to remove barriers, to take those sort of small obstacles that many of us that may not be differently abled take for granted and remove them, so that those of every ability have access to the same resources, the same assets, and the same parks that all of our families should enjoy. And as part of the Think Differently initiative led by Tony Sciarfella, who's here, our goal is really not only to inform, but to really create opportunities. And now every community in Dutchess County has embraced the Think Differently principles. 101 communities across the state of New York have embraced Think Differently, and nearly a dozen in America now are implementing Think Differently as a means of supporting, respecting, and accepting those of every ability. So I commend the town supervisor and the town board. Town of Wappinger continues to show what leadership looks like, and this is a great opportunity for us to create one more accessible place for everyone of every ability. And as the dad of a child with a developmental disability, I can tell you that even the smallest steps make the biggest difference. So congratulations, we're proud to partner with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, Ann, I didn't see you there with the sunshine in my eyes. I'd like to, Mike, would you like to say something? And Chris and Bill, more than welcome. So Mike, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here today. This is just another example of our town's commitment to our parks and our community. We do have a long-standing record of service for this. As our supervisor just mentioned previously, Inspiration Field, that was an endeavor that took many years but was accomplished through the efforts of many of you in our community, our county executive, Mark Molinaro, in the county. And this is just another example of that commitment. As recreation liaison, I've worked with many of you to make sure that these things were accomplished, and I'm very proud that we're taking yet another step to make sure that our community, our parks, and those with special needs are protected and taken care of in our community. So thank you very much. I appreciate being here, and I'll let others speak about the same thing. Thank you.
I'd really like to thank the supervisor, the board, and the county executive, Marcus. But most importantly, thank the local committee. They've been a driving force to get this moving. We helped them back it, but they pushed for this. And for me, I can just thank them very much. And I look forward to seeing the end results of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Just real quick, again, another shout out to Tony Sciarfella. She needs another round of applause. She is Think Differently, really working in my county capacity with access and functional needs and working with the county executive. This county, I can tell you, as boots on the ground in the county, really is looking specifically at how we can better the lives and make accessibility really a priority, especially for those that may need assistance during an event like we had the other night. Here on the recreation side, I can tell you as the senior town board member, I've been involved since the genesis of the Challenger League, the Challenger Field, and now what is known as Inspiration Field because of the hard work that has been done out there. And when I heard about this project on this side of town, I couldn't think of a better way to complement our initiative. So again, a round of applause for all those involved, especially the committee members that are out there working day to day on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony or Ann, would you like to say anything? Please, come on up.
Marcus never offers me the microphone. Thank you. Thank you so
You're
much.
now getting 99,000.
It's okay.
199.
I know we've thanked everyone here, and of course, thanks definitely well due, so we can just give them another round of applause. So thank you. But I have to say, from my personal perspective, the second week I was the Deputy Commissioner for Special Needs here in Dutchess County, Randy Ross brought me to this park, and I thought I was stepping on these big piles of, but they were actually chocolate muffins. And there's something between Randy Ross and this park and his complete commitment to seeing it happen that I just wanted to come up and say thank you to Randy for keep pushing everything that you're doing with all the parks that we're working on. He's always willing to step in. So thank you, Randy Ross. Okay.
Thank you, Tony.
No more
chocolate muffins here.
Yeah, okay. Before we go to groundbreaking, Randy and Kevin, would you like to say a few words, please? And introduce other folks as well. Thank you.
Good morning. Well, I get to thank everybody also, and some of my favorite people in the whole world are sitting here, so I need to recognize them, besides my granddaughters, but I will speak. First of all, a number of years ago, 2-3 years ago, Jessica and Joey came to me and asked me if I would be part of this park. They were the ones who originally had this idea, and I was so glad. And they're still here with us, and I appreciate all that they've done. Supervisor Thurston, one of my favorite people. I'm a big fan. He has been with this project all along. He has pushed it along. He has pushed me along. I'm not saying we always agree on what's going on, but his heart's with me in all of this, and I appreciate it, Dick. Hope you feel better. The town board members, including Bob Johnson and Bob Gray when he was around, these guys and Angela have been amazing. They've been very supportive, and I appreciate it not only during board meetings, but just when I speak to them, they show their support for this park and some of the things that this committee has done. Kevin has been a tremendous part of this committee also, and working together has been an amazing experience. The county executive, I just can't say enough about his support for this. He and Tony, I love Tony. Tony, I have been on, and she's right. I came to her, dragged her down here in the mud, and just said, we're doing this. We are doing this, and she's been with me all along. So is the county executive. And I really do appreciate their input and their support. Ann Saylor is here. Again, we don't always agree on what's going to happen with this park, but I love working with her because she's a straight arrow. She tells me exactly how she feels, and I do appreciate that. Thank you, Ann. There are people here also, part of the Spook Hill Foundation. The foundation is being set up so that all the monies that come in are going towards this park. The folks from Hannaford's are here. They're so far been amazing with us. They're here on a Saturday morning. We do appreciate what they've done. Innate Chiropractor is part of our team. Healy Brothers, DCH Toyota, Mid-Hudson Subaru. Ulster Savings Bank, and Valerie is here from Ulster Savings Bank, has been with us also almost from the very beginning. She sits on the board of Spook Hill. Thank you for coming, appreciate it. Royal Karting, Northwest Mutual, and the Wappinger Central School District. There are no members here, but they are also behind us on this because we didn't realize that Myers Corners School, which is right up the road there, last year had the largest amount of students with special needs of any school in the district. It's amazing. There are over 300 kids with special needs at Myers Corners. This park will be a really amazing place for them to use during their school day and also afterwards. We've also hooked up with a number of doctors, podiatrists, chiropractors, physical therapists. We're going to use this park, and in the middle is going to be the outdoor exercise area. And they're going to use it as something called Parks RX, which means that they will actually be able to tell their patients, rather than give them medication, come to the park, walk around, do the exercise equipment. So eventually this park will be used for all different things. I also have to recognize my neighbors over there, and they are my neighbors. I've been in this neighborhood for pretty much 40 years, and I've known about 3 or 4 of them back there, and they are part of this process. I appreciate them coming this morning. I appreciate listening to all they have to say, and they will be, like it or not, they will be part of this process. So I'd like to thank everybody who's come, and please understand that this is for the children of this neighborhood. It's also for the county, for the children of the county, and we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Randy. Kevin,
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kevin Hathorn, and 25 years ago, I was coaching soccer for the town of Wappinger, and I used to bring my kids here, under 12 and under 15, and because of the rough terrain, it was a little different. It wasn't, we didn't have the kind of flooding that we have now, so it was fairly dry, but I was always looking around and just hoping that we could turn this into something else besides a playground and a whole open field. As a matter of fact, the basketball court wasn't even used very much 25 years ago. So it's my pleasure to be a part of the committee, a part of the community. I've been in Wappingers for about 40 years myself over at Rockingham, but I've been around to all the parks. This one is special because it's got so much community around it. Generally, the parks don't have that, and I want to see us get involved with the community. I had an awful lot more that I was going to talk about, but everybody else talked about it first. So all I have to say is that, yeah, we have plans, but those plans are very fluid. We originally were thinking of a limited number of parking spaces over there, but there's no reason why we can't come out to the north, a whole bunch. Fence is going to move back 20, 25 feet. We'll have plenty of room for parking, and there'll be an awful lot less accidents in this section of Spook Hill Road. So that's all I got to say, and I definitely do appreciate everybody's attention and devotion to this. And like Randy said, like it or not, everybody's going to be involved one way or another. I guess that's about it. Thank you very much, folks.
Okay. Groundbreaking now? Yeah. Okay. So how do you want us to organize it? Okay, well, again, thank you, everyone, for coming out, for your support now and going out into the future. We do have coffee and cider and donuts if anybody would like to go and partake of that. So, again, thanks, and I look forward to working with you going out into the future, as does our board and the county executive and his team. Thank you very much.